You only need 1 minute. You don't need 20 minutes. You can start with 1 minute of intentional breathing. It does not have to be a constant on and on and on of peaceful Zen. You don't need to start with 20 minutes. You can start with 1 minute. That's it. That's all you need. You want to focus on the breath to start with. So if you just, like I said earlier, 3 deep breaths, that takes what, 10 seconds, 12 seconds maybe? Extend that to 30 seconds. How many breaths can you take in 30 seconds? You don't want to breathe deep the whole time. Start with 3 deep breaths and then regular breathing, but just focus on the breathing. All you need to think about after you start with the 3 deep breaths and you do that for a few days, try to extend it to 1 minute and just think about the breathing, because the goal is to move away from the train of thoughts and into a state of clearing out all of those thoughts, creating space in your mind to be in the present moment. Good morning, Abby. So you don't need, a whole bunch of time. You don't need a special seat and pad in your house with special incense. You just need to start with 3 deep breaths, then move it to 60 seconds when you can. And consistency matters more than duration. So, like I said earlier, my husband meditates every day for about 3 to 5 minutes in the morning, and he's very consistent with it. He's done that almost every day, unless there's been something very severe happening in our lives. But almost every single day for 8 years, he has meditated consistently, and he only does it for a few minutes, and it really, really has changed his outlook. It has changed his calmness. It's changed his demeanor. My meditation is a little different because I do sitting in the power for mediumship, and I've talked about that before, and I can do lives about that as well. But it's more about consistency, consistently making a practice of clearing the thoughts out of your mind, slowing the thoughts down, creating gaps between your thoughts. And again, every time you go potty, if that's the only time, because everybody pees, if that's the only time, you can take 3 deep breaths and clear your mind for 60 seconds. Do it every time, because it's so incredibly important to raise the vibration of the earth. We really need to, now more than ever, do our best to help everyone by helping ourselves and clearing our mind, because we can't raise the vibration of the earth. And by that, I mean kind of putting a damper on the constant negativity, right? So there's a lot of negativity, again, on the news, social media, even on nighttime talk shows. We need to shift that and clear our thoughts a little to allow for more peace to come into our lives. And when we are more peaceful and calm, it spreads to others. So we want to dampen the negativity and put put a seal on it and bury it somewhere. If we are in a constant state of panic and anxiety, it adds to the negativity on earth. And so the calmer we are, the more of a baseline of peace we have, the better it is for ourselves and the people around us. And then maybe they will get to a baseline of peace, and that will spread. And so that's the goal. That's the goal that I strive for. If you can't take 3 deep breaths and concentrate on that, if you are a person that just can't do that, that's fine. You can use a repetitive motion. Humming is very good for stopping thoughts. Rocking, a rocking chair, rocking back and forth, or just, hand on your heart, rocking back and forth, just thinking about that motion. Stirring tea or coffee, tapping, just tapping, count to 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. I don't recommend a high number if you're tapping, a low number. I was a person who would do counting to calm my mind down. And I would say, I'm going to count to 10. I'm going to count to 10. And then I'd keep counting and I'd forget that I had to start over. So now what I do is I just count to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Because that's a lot easier to remember to go back and forth. I also do times tables when I have, especially at night when I can't sleep and my mind starts racing. I know it sounds goofy, but I love math. But I'll do times tables. I start with 2 times 2. I don't know why, but that's the one I start with. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and on and on and on. And that stops my thoughts about whatever's going through my mind at the time and allows me to create gaps in my thoughts, calm down, and fall asleep. And it really works. Any kind of rhythmic action will slow down that train of thoughts. And remember, it's not about having a blank mind. It's about slowing the train of thoughts down, calming down your mind, because our bodies don't know the difference between our thoughts and what's actually happening. That's why positive manifestation works, but negative manifestation works too. So if we're always in fear of what's to come, we can manifest the negative just as easily as we can manifest the positive. So be mindful of, if you are constantly worried, this bad thing's going to happen, this bad thing's going to happen, this bad thing's going to happen, you're telling the universe those things are happening, and it will come to fruition often. So be mindful of your negative thoughts about what's going to happen in the future, because you can make it happen. And we don't want more negativity. We want peace and calm and quiet, and our minds to be in a state that is clear and relaxing. So repetitive noises, rocking back and forth. Anybody have any questions?